Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Brain and Code e-commerce teardowns, where Mel and I select different websites each episode to run a live audit and provide insights and recommendations. Mel has over 15 years of experience developing websites and is certified usability analyst. I have over 12 years of experience in the e-commerce industry with multiple Adobe Commerce certifications as well. And don't forget, if you'd like to have your website featured in one of our episodes, just let us know. Our contacts are in the video description. So, no further ado, Mel, I'm going to ask you, can you share some websites so we can start diving in right away?
Sure. Okay. I've got a good one as our first website to look at today. And that's because I'm doing my Christmas shopping for my kids. And obviously, I've got two kids, both boys. Game systems and video games are on the top of their list. I've been on the site past couple days because I was actually a shopper, and so I thought this is a good place to start. I saw a lot of opportunities, and I thought, okay, let's put this one in this episode, and then we'll see how you like it too, or if you see some of the things I see. Okay, so for our viewers who are not familiar with GameStop, they offer a wide range of like video games, consoles, accessories, like merchandise. Like for example, if my kid likes Kirby, I might be able to find like a little Kirby figurine and collectibles and like things like that, right? Pins and stuffies and such. And so yeah, so that's a bit of backgrounder about GameStop. With sites like this, because it is like electronics and gaming environments, typically when I do a UX audit, I will focus on navigation if as a parent or as the if you're shopping for yourself as well, right? Like if you can't find what you're looking for, or maybe they have it and you can't find it on their site because either their search or their navigation or whatever other findability aspects are poor, then you're probably going to go look elsewhere. And whichever site you can find it the quickest and then quickly do a price compare, you're probably going to shop at that one, right? And so, yeah, navigation, I think, is big. Product pages, like it, because we're creeping up to Christmas and you have to make sure, well, they do have something about, shipping and such. But yeah, I noticed something which I'll share later about the in-store pickup. But then I think it's very important that shipping information and all that is very clear on all the pages. Product pages should be descriptive. I mean, maybe less so for GameStop because if you know the game you want, you're gonna buy it anyways. I mean, you probably already know, or it's on a Christmas wish list of your kids or your nephews, right? And so, yeah, and so I think product description pages are still important with not so much the product description, like as long as you know that's the product you're looking for, that's fine. But then there are other aspects like the product availability and reviews and things like that. Maybe you're comparing two games that's on their wish list and you want to get the one that's better reviewed, right? And so I think other aspects we can look at and obviously check out, right? And so, okay, so we're on the homepage. And so I could jump in and I could share some thoughts and then yeah, feel free to interrupt me, Sergio, if you see anything as I scroll through.
I was just going to say,
Yeah.
Mel. Well, two things. First, I am pretty much like your kids.
Is that on your wish list too? Okay.
my Santa Claus wish
Yeah.
list is all full of games and things like even for GameStop, I am a platinum member to be honest.
Oh, are you? Now I know who to go to for the discounts, right? Okay.
And then
That's good to
just
know.
yeah, just one quick thing that is important to mention right away. GameStop is huge in Canada. It's one of the big brands here. Although it is a US, is American brand, so it started. And there's a lot of things that we could talk about GameStop besides UX. There was even a Netflix show that talking about the GameStop, what happened with the stocks. But anyways,
Oh,
uh,
I haven't watched that one. Okay,
yeah,
I'll have to check
yeah,
it out.
yeah, it's good, it's good. But yeah,
Awesome.
but going back to the UX now.
Okay. Okay, yeah. So starting right at the homepage, so people typically land on the homepage. I know if you're searching for a game, you might land on the product page from search engines and whatnot. Maybe a link, right? Maybe you're looking at review sites and it links to some store, right? But homepage still has to stand on its own because it's typically the page that gets the most traffic, right? And then so a few things I look for right away is navigation. So I was actually surprised to see that even on desktop, they use this hamburger menu. I know everybody's gonna know that's a menu. Like it 15 years ago, then people won't know. And I would actually like when I'm mentoring designers say, oh, don't use the hamburger menu without the word menu below it, right? So obviously, like gone are those days, everybody's used to the icon, but I was still surprised to see that it's on desktop for the site because not only is it bearing all the keywords, the top product categories. So at a glance, I think that the main navigation being spelled out on the page is going to make the site that much more useful than the hamburger menu, right? So obviously, when you get the small screens, makes sense. But yeah, that's one of the first things I spotted. I think yeah, we could go into the navigation in a bit, but because I'm sure there's a lot of things we could point out there. But just staying on the homepage, I did notice this. We'll point out the bugs as well. But those are easy fixes. Those are low-hanging fruit. But I noticed that, and why I'm pointing out the breadcrumb here, it's the breadcrumb. So those of you who don't know why it says home, I'm already on the home page, and then there's this white gap. It's because this is probably a consistent breadcrumb that's across their whole site as a template, right?
Mm-hmm.
But why I noticed it, it's because when above the fold, so what I could see, and I have a pretty big screen I am on my laptop, which a lot of users are. I have another screen, but I thought, okay, a lot of people are going to be on laptops, right? So let's emulate the majority of population here is shopping, maybe on the go and such, right? And then so um, before I scroll down, I actually don't see any product categories. And that's what I was frustrated with, like that this navigation is condensed in this mobile menu, this hamburger menu without the categories, and above the fold there's no main product categories and carousels. I know like this one probably is has been beaten to death and repeated so many times, but then I think sliders and carousels, when they're implemented, you do have to be quite careful about how it's configured. So not only in its design, but details like, okay, like this one is a good example. There's quite a bit of text. There's like 3 lines of text and it's playing. I think I triggered a pause when I hovered over it, but if not, then the speed is pretty quick when it transitions from slide to slide, and it's not giving the user a lot of time on each of them. And then I could see here, I think there's like 6 of them. Yeah, those dots. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, there's 6 promotional banners on this slider, and it's probably 2 or 3 more than there should be. Like I'm not entirely opposed to sliders, and sometimes we have implemented sliders for our clients' websites where it is relevant and appropriate. But then you could guarantee that by the time, unless we're sitting here doing a UX audit, but if I was shopping, I would have scrolled away already. Right. And then so your viewers or your customers are not going to be seeing the third, fourth, fifth, or sixth banner in the majority of cases. And so I think there's a lot of other ways they could implement this, like a static grid, and maybe there's still a slider taking up like 50% of the space, and there's 2 or 3 marketing messages there or promotions cycling, and maybe on the right there could be a grid of 4, like 2 by 2, right? And then so there's 4 smaller banners and they're static. They don't move, they don't change. And so there's not so much motion that it becomes a bit tricky to absorb all the information that's being presented to you.
Yeah, and then even thinking on the user itself, knowing that, for example, your case, I know you were certified UX analyst, and you've been working with e-commerce websites for many years, but there are a lot of people, a lot of moms and dads out there that are not quite familiar on how carousel works. And then, maybe they are looking for something that is in the carousel that is important to give to them that information, but they ended up scrolling down just because they don't have the patience, or because it transitioned so fast that they couldn't even read everything that is in there, or scan
Yeah.
everything that was in there. So yeah, I think it's a great thing. Like you mentioned, like have a grid and perhaps a smaller carousel where you still can add some additional information, but the user already make connection that, oh, maybe this slide here, this area contains information, that one that is static and the other one that is like a carousel. So if I want more, maybe I should look to the carousel, not something like a slider, big slider like this. Yeah, that's a good point.
Exactly. And I think that it's like a long time ago, like do you remember when Google used to have ads that are graphics on their search results page, right?
Yes.
And then they did a lot of studies, they looked at the data and they realized that users were starting to have what they called like ad blindness. And they're just skipping over it. There's those sponsored ads and they scroll right down because they can visually identify that, oh, that's an ad. And so they scroll down to the meat of the listings, right?
Yeah.
And so sliders and carousels have that kind of effect. People don't want to sit there and wait for it to rotate. They just see it as an ad, like you're splashing me with a marketing banner. And so, yes, to your point, it's like I would have just scrolled through. We were only sitting here because we're talking about it and analyzing it to death. But then it's something that people do scroll through, and not. I don't mean scroll through the carousel, but scroll past it. Just go to the next section. And so it's a lot of wasted real estate, prime real estate on your homepage that probably could be much better utilized, right? Okay, so moving down, I could see that they do put an emphasis on categorizing by the platform, so the game system, which makes sense. It's like I got a Nintendo Switch at home because my kids are younger and the teenagers might have a PS5, and so if you know who you're buying for or yourself, like game system, I think this makes sense. So I like that, and it's quick to click one and go to that category. I think these categories are a bit. The design of it is a bit difficult to read. I think the icons are not that illustrative of the topics. The styles also don't really match. Like you got some solid and line arts and different. The line arts are like the different weights in the stroke. And so when I talk like UI design with designers and like this is when you're designing an icon library, it's very important to make it cohesive. Otherwise, it's very subtle, but then to the customer, when they look at this, it's what separates those mediocre brands to the ones that you think are just, the brand is solid. If you think Apple, right, or other big brands, you'll see that in their iconography design system, everything is very consistent in the look and feel, right? And that it just helps to bring more trust and credibility. And the customers perceive your brand to be higher quality and more reliable, right? And so there's obviously some issues with, I think, the legibility of the text as well, right? Too small, all caps. So labels are much better when they're title case or sentence case, whichever you prefer. But all caps labels are also trickier to read for some people.
Yeah, and like you said, the icons as well, right, could be improved because the used ones, for example, I know we're kind of recycling the old game into a new game, and if you want to buy, but honestly, when I first arrived at the website the first time, I thought that, oh, it's a damaged game, so they have like a recycling program, so I just sent to them. So that's what triggered me right away, because sometimes you have like a hard disk, that there's some risk or damage, and you want to throw away, and you can't just throw in the garbage. So I thought it was like a recycling program they had.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah. And so, yeah, icons are tricky to get just right. Like, and if they're not perfectly aligned with the message you want to convey, then it's sometimes better to do without the icon. Because the word itself, like used, right? Yeah, I buy about used games would be better. Or maybe they sell everything. Maybe used games, used consoles, I don't know, right? So maybe it's a whole whack of stuff, right? But in that case, that should be the label, right?
Yeah,
Used game
or just like
systems
the car
and
industry,
games.
called
Yeah.
pre-owned. Pre-owned.
Yes. Yes,
And
pre-owned. You're right. Yes, that's the label they should have gone with. Yeah, so I think yeah, there's definitely some things going on here. Or Edge. I think hey, you're platinum member. Is Edge there? I'm not. I don't buy enough for my kids. But is that the name of their program?
yeah, it's the reward
Okay.
program. Yeah.
Yes, right. So it's not so descriptors. It could just be three, 4 words long, right? Descriptors would be good to support what it is, because this edge card and then this like the name. You're only speaking to the platinum members, which is a small fraction of your audience, and the customers coming to the site, and you probably want to promote it. And so for
Yeah.
me, like I'm starting to buy a lot more games because my kids are addicted to the Switch, right? And so like I would have loved to be told what it is, and maybe I would join the club too if it makes sense, right? If I justify the cost savings, I would, right? But this tells me nothing, right?
It's funny
So I
because
think
that didn't bother me because I know the
because you
programs.
know
I
exactly
already
because you
knew.
are. You are that whatever it is, 5% of visitors to the site who know what it is, right?
I'm
Yeah. So
platinum on my
lost.
way to Bionics.
Yes. Yes. So yeah, it's definitely lots of opportunity there, I think, to promote. Yeah, so more banners, which I think is fine. I love that it's seasonal. Like it does give me the sense that they do refresh their site and so it's current and that also adds to the trust and credibility, right? I know these guys are on top of their promotions and their branding and all that. And so this section I actually really like, and I wish it appeared higher on the page. I think this is a section just dedicated to Switch, or maybe because it speaks to me. That's what I'm looking for right now. So it's got a marketing banner, it's got the product listings, good information. Like I could see which games are new, which are pre-order. So I probably have to wait and they won't get here by Christmas. Good mix of things too, like a bundle, some games, right? And the Switch Lite, sale prices, stock availability, direct add to cart. Yeah, I'm pretty happy here. I like this section. Yeah.
Something that I would like to point out as well.
Mhm.
Do you remember those icons that we're talking about? Once you scroll down, then
Mhm.
now they became part of the mega menu, like the main menu, because they're stick in the header.
Oh, yeah, this.
So it's just like they are part of the menu. So maybe when they were trying to create that
Oh,
usability, that's why they didn't use the whole main menu space, I would assume. But still, I think it still can. There are other ways that could be handled to still
yeah.
keep the menu, at least the main categories there.
You know what's interesting? I didn't even notice that until you pointed that out. And so interesting. But yeah, I didn't notice it. So I would argue it's not that effective, but you would argue it is. Uh, okay, let's keep scrolling. I am surprised. So I think I saw this when I was browsing the site earlier. So it didn't bother me as much because I was shopping for Switch. But this really well, my favorite section, this one about the Switch games, like promotion and then
Hmm.
very clear listing. It shows me 6 products, not stingy, right? It shows me quite a few. That's good, right? Good details. I wonder why they didn't promote the same section. So it could be the same layout because now people are familiar. It doesn't have to be creative. And sometimes when you get creative with layouts as you scroll down, it adds to the customer or the viewer's mental load and they have to learn, oh, like where's everything, right? So it could be consistent. You don't have to get fancy, but why not a section for Xbox? Why not a section for PS5? Because don't those um, game system owners like wouldn't they benefit from a section? So I wonder about that, like why, and I don't know if maybe the holiday apparel is selling better, but I kind of doubt it. Like okay, so as I scroll down I can see there's the pre-order games, but that's not exactly the same either because it's got a mix: PS5, Xbox, Switch games, right? Yeah.
Well, maybe they have some kind of data that shows them that people are searching more or looking more for Nintendo Switch
Mhm.
at that during the Christmas time. So they thought it would be worth it to promote that better. I agree with you. I would prefer to see like uh, a, a session for I have PS5, so I would like to see a session for PS5, for example, and Sony games. Uh, but I mean, I think it's just because of the holidays. I guess.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, it could be. And then to a point about the navigation, right? Like there's some things I think the footer, I know a lot of people want to just kind of bury it in the background, not have it distract, but I do think just fundamentals of like contrast, like accessibility and contrast. I do think that the gray text is too light, right? So I know
Agreed.
it's not really about the user experience here, but or such. But then I do think that when you're trying to emphasize certain things and de-emphasize certain things, just be aware that it still passes accessibility checkers because people do use Twitter and like returns, exchanges, right? That's a huge topic that would distill trust and credibility again. You know, people feel confident that if I buy, especially the pre-owned stuff, right? So if I buy a pre-owned game system, I need to know that there are certain like warranties and what are the returns and exchanges if it somehow failed in a month that I bought it and was pre-owned, right? And so I think that's this is also, yeah, the design very simple. Like they could just boost up the contrast, and so the design and the accessibility would be improved here.
Yeah.
And yeah, the navigation. So you're talking about, these being sticky now. Let's go back to this. So, the game system. So being okay, so you game more than me, right? And so you're a better fit to the target audience that they be like I'm the parent, and but you're the gamer itself, right? So when you're looking for a game, would you be looking for trending collectibles, used slash pre-owned flyers, digital edge gift cards, or would you be what would be your first thought? Like what would you look for?
I would definitely look for my console, like PS5, games, something that
Yeah.
take me straight to the console, and the category that I'm looking for would be
Yeah.
PS5. So if we could have something here, either in the sticker header or in the main menu, that right away says PS5, I think would be better. I know it's not. I'm not trying to complicate things here. I know there's a hamburger menu there. I know if I click there, I will have all the options,
Yeah.
for the categories. But still, if I don't think there are many consoles out there to be highlighted at this point. So that wouldn't fit right below
Yeah.
the main menu. So I definitely would like to have something like that. Like right away,
Yes.
easy to see, with an icon about each console because they are different in design. So it would be easy to identify by an icon. Uh, so yeah, much more
Yeah.
than
Yeah. Like
knowing
these.
about action figures, etc. But maybe, like I said, maybe there is a
Exactly.
business reason that uh that makes them work like this. Maybe I don't know, maybe they just want to promote more some of these subcategories than the console, since everyone already goes there for the console. And the other thing is about the search. So the search is right at the
Mhm.
top, which is a good thing. And then it's the center where your eyes are going to mostly of the time. So even if I'm not finding easily what I'm looking for, I would type it in there. So
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And this hamburger menu and then the slide out does organize by the game system, right? The console. And you're right, like it counted here just six, right? I think that they would be far better off having that persistent navigation, like what we said, right? And I love your idea of the icons, right? The X and then the Joy-Cons, right? The PS5 logo as part of the menu, because that's easily recognizable, and it also helps reinforce that hey, like they are serious about the gaming. Like when you go to other sites, like actually I don't know, we could check, but then on another day, but Amazon, Best Buy, and your the competitors, their main competitors, they're not gonna give it that much design attention to like incorporating those icons in their navigation. So that might even help set them apart as the specialized store, right? And
yeah.
so that I think that would be a really good way to design the navigation.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, the search. So you mentioned the search. So I did use the search. I tell you what is the game that my kids want, and it's funny because they want Super Smash Bros. Okay, and I was thinking, okay, for some parents, they start typing, and so we know because we've implemented a lot of search, right? And not all parents are gonna know how to spell the game. And so I'm pretty close here. Super Smash Bro, singular. So instead of bros, I know because now like I was like, oh okay, I know what the game is. So I don't think their search is functioning effectively. So I just deleted the S just so we could sit here and talk about it some more. So I think that's in terms of like an effective e-commerce search, it should autocomplete. It should have product suggestions. It should have, I think what's missing here is the misspelling tolerance, or when product results show up, is it after the user has typed like how many characters? Is it 3, 5, 8? And so you can see I've typed quite a few, including the spaces as like 10, 14. I've typed 14 characters already, right? And so it's still telling me no results. And if I didn't know better that it was bros here with S, I might really think, oh, GameStop doesn't have it. Because to your point, like for whoops, I think I clicked the Call of Duty banner. We'll see. Okay, I think it's fine. So if I didn't know better, and then I see this going like this carousel going through, and then I'm like, oh well, yeah, I could use the map navigation, and maybe I'll find it. Actually, let's do a test here, right? Games, and I come to this page, and it's like, wow, like there's a lot. I could already tell, like scrolling down, and maybe
Yep.
I don't know. My kids know the cover. They played it at their friend's house, right? Or they just know like what it looks like because they've watched ads. I don't know what the cover looks like of the game, right? And so visually I can't see it. And now I'm going, oh geez, like how do I find it? Even if I use the navigation, I might still use the search. And unless I knew exactly Super Smash Bros. Right? Okay. So the name and get that full spelling in. If I even miss the S, it's gonna tell me no results, and off I go to Amazon and Best Buy, right? And so that's the first thing I noticed. And then the other thing, I know you're kind of chomping at the bit because you had something to. So here, I I don't think that they've done any work to prioritize the results that are being presented. I think this is an excellent start. They're showing more than I see on other sites, right? I can see a picture, I can see the product name, I can even see a short description, like the beginning of it or whatever it's pulling in that little bit here, right? So it's
Mhm.
great, but it's unlikely that I'm shopping for an amiibo. Right. Like, and so I think that, like, well, the game itself, I could see is right there. I don't know why there's two. So again, a bit of confusion. There's exact same label. Yeah, that I didn't even click to figure what that out is. It's so there's a few things going on in this search that could be implemented better. So the misspellings for one. This I think the gray field is difficult to read, but that's so minor. If the data and the content that we were presenting is more effective, I don't mind the gray. We could look past that, right? But yeah, prioritization of the results based on how likely it is that your customer is looking for that item, so the game, and not an amiibo. We should show relevant ones as well, right? These are the Super Smash Bros.
Mhm.
Series amiibos, but then make sure that the game or game system bundles. I think these look like a bundle that comes with the game, which is great. You want to upsell that, so maybe you position these first, the bundle, and then the game. That's okay too, because you might want to present as a business the one that you're upselling, right? But definitely like some reorganization of this would be good. Yeah, I
Mhm.
could tell you were wanting to say something. Whatever.
No, I was just going to say that, yes, you're absolutely right. I don't want to go on any rabbit hole, but the search needs some improvements for sure. Not only because of needs many words or the exactly words, so you can start presenting some information to you, but also because it could be more intuitive. So there's ways where you could add some attributes to search. So, for example, like you said, so parents looking for the product, they may not know how to properly spell the game name, and there are some games that are kind of hard to spell. If you're not familiar with the game. But also, the way it's presented, it's not intuitive.
Exactly. Yeah, it should pick up on the relevance. Like the game itself should have the highest relevancy match to this search term.
What
And so I
happened?
think yeah, go ahead.
What happened if you search for amiibo? Just
It's not bad. Yeah. A whole bunch
Yeah,
of
it's not bad. It's not
amiibos
bad.
show
No,
up.
yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
And okay, now you got me curious. Oh, not Sora specifically. Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of these alerts going on too. We won't get into that. We'll go down a rabbit hole if that's the case. Let's see. Okay, so there's 19 of them. And what I was curious when you got me to do that test was when I typed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10. Right. And so I didn't even notice because, well, I don't know how many search results matched Super Smash Bros. But then using this example that you just asked me to do, then I realized there's another opportunity where when the user is searching, then it's important to show them how many matching results there are. So you could tell when I searched a word and I actually click enter or click the search icon, it's returning 19 results, which is great, right? But because they did implement this product suggestion, so actually giving me a listing of products, your customers could easily mistaken that as your exhaustive list. So in a lot of good search mega drop downs or whatever you want to call it, those search autocomplete drop downs, there are a few critical pieces of content that you need to show, and one of them being how many results match the search term. You can show, you should, in most cases, it is relevant to show
Mhm.
some product suggestions, but don't let your customers mistaken that that is the exhaustive list of batching results. Because if I was looking for Amiibo, okay, I don't know which one is on the list here, but not there. But I think the Pikachu, right? Like I don't think I saw the Pikachu or whichever one, right? So there must be 9 missing. Yeah, Pikachu isn't here. So if my kid was looking for the Pikachu Amiibo, I'm not gonna. I might think that, oh, they don't sell it, right? Without even clicking, because you're giving the user the list of options. It actually deters them from hitting enter because they think, they think that, oh, well, okay, there you go, great. Like it's actually responding to me, and oh, there's my results, right? And actually, it's not the full list, and so you
Yeah.
might have lost a conversion there as well, right?
Yeah, and it's still about the search because I did check
Mhm.
on mobile. So how it behave when you're on a smaller screen, and
Mhm.
the search doesn't present no, there's no images, there's nothing but the same 10 results there. So
Right.
I think what besides what you said, which I agree, should have like a view all or see all the results, something that redirects that customer to a result page with based on the search, which is it's fine. You don't need to even add more than one line link there. But maybe they would, even in mobile, they wanted to display images as well, or even as a very one sentence line about what the result is about, and that could be done without interference on the usability by having a scroll on the search. I saw that multiple times in different websites when you have a scroll on the search. So even if you have a long, very long, you can decide the height of that will be displayed on each mobile display and have a scroll there so it doesn't interfere with the usability at all. So there's another opportunity there for, especially on the mobile.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, a scroll bar would definitely
Yeah.
mitigate some of those usability issues. Now I'm curious because not everybody knows what an amiibo is, and so here's a good test. Okay, not bad. I put it in with one eye to see, and so these show up. So they must have done a misspelling configuration for in the back end for that, or like okay, PlayStation. I don't think anybody would misspell that. But let's say it's just a typo. You kind of slipped up the Y, slipped up the key with the U, right? So yeah, typos like misspellings when it's just one character off, then when the search is well implemented, it should still return results with that closest match. Or you might have seen on search results pages or right in these auto complete or auto suggest search fields, it would say, "Did you mean?" and then the correct spelling, right? Because it's just off by one character. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of opportunity here on this search. And for a site like this, right, because they have a large inventory of games and pre-owned items and game consoles, then I think that I don't have the access to their stats, but I would guess that a lot of people are using the search rather than their navigation, especially because of this hamburger menu. There's a lot of things combined, right? Like so I'm gonna bet that a lot of people are using this site search here.
Yeah, and then also one of the things that I believe uh, some websites are not kind of thinking through is the difference of language, because Amiibo is not a like a English uh for sorry Amiibo is not for a non-English speaker, is not something that you would right away spell like Amiibo. Maybe you could
Not
spell
even
a,
English.
yeah,
It's
not
not
even
an English
English,
word.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, not even
Yeah.
English. Uh, so thinking of that, I think you should think on, okay, how would people, spell that? And I know he would say, well, but every gamer should know that, and your kids will know how to spell, backwards if needed. But
Can do that.
no,
Right.
not everyone. So you have
Yeah.
Amiibo with an E, but you could have an Amiibo with a Y, or two E's, and there's no results. And these are the things that should be taken in
Yes.
consideration, especially when you have a diversity audience like me. I'm not native English speaker, so if your kids tell me, hey, Uncle Sergio, can you buy me something? Like I want a Bebo. I maybe will look with double E's. That's how I would
Exactly.
type in. So
Yeah. And game names are sometimes creative and not even a word. And so there's a lot of seriously like Mortal Kombat, or you might correct me, but combats, like who thought to spell it with a K? Maybe that's an actual name, maybe that's from another language, but to me, combat is C, right? And so I would be if my nephew comes to me and say, "Hey, like, can Auntie Mel, can you buy me Mortal Kombat?" I'm gonna go, "Okay, more." If I don't know the game, right? And oh, they do a good job here. So some Mortal Kombat stuff comes up with a C, right? So I think that they've got they've got some of these misspellings in, are common misspellings, but they're definitely not covering all bases. Because you can see we tried so many
yeah, but
things, and
combat
and I
was
think that
easy.
yes,
Combat
that
was
was
easy
easy. Yes,
because you
yes,
have a straight word in English that we just spell differently. So you would say, well, definitely let's add that one. But yeah, and it's good.
yeah.
It's good that they're doing that, but needs to think.
Or you know what this could be, because we know that when sites are launched, or maybe it's a new brand, or maybe it's a new initiative that someone, at GameStop managing the e-commerce site on the team says, "Hey, I notice our site doesn't do this." So let's take the misspelling as an example, right?
Yeah.
And they come in with this great idea, great observation, and would 100% have our support. And yes, like, or maybe we mentioned it already, right? If we were their agency. And so then we would go implement, and we would go, okay, let's take a look at there's a few places we could go to gather this data, right? If you're in a common vertical, maybe there's lists that you could already download, right? Databases that you could draw from. There are you can look at the search history data. So users, visitors to your site, what are they searching? And then flag the ones that have misspelling, and then start to build your database tailored to your brand and your site experience, right? And then you chip away at it. So that brings me to an important point, that it looks like they did some of this, and not all, which tells me that it's the upkeep. Because a lot of things, like we talk to clients all the time, great, like sites launch, everything's good. We thought of everything. Let's say we dotted our I's, crossed our T's, and all the misspellings, all the auto suggestions are there. Like the reality of e-commerce is it evolves. New products get imported on the daily or weekly, whatever your frequency is, how your catalog changes. Those updates that you made to address common misspellings, because they sometimes need to get manually, actually most cases, right, manually added, because someone has this job, or maybe you could leverage AI to do it nowadays, right? But then like it's still a process in itself. And then so it might not be that the observation isn't there. Like maybe GameStop team realizes that, yeah, this needs to be done. And so you could see some of them are addressed, like Mortal Kombat, right? And so it's that maintenance, having it as um, having it in your workflow of things that you need to address, maybe monthly, quarterly, depending on your capacity, and then also the priority of this, right? And so, yeah, that's I think it's something that gets missed a lot. That a lot of features and functionality gets implemented when it's thought of, and it's new and it's shiny, and then it gets implemented, and even if it's implemented very well. And the quality control is great, right? Like we get the thorough testing and all that and user testing, but then 6 months later, 12 months later, especially as time goes on, the longer you wait, right? If you don't revisit some of these features and functionality, then things might start to fall apart. And it's not that that feature, so that the search is still functional, but then there's definitely things that need to be done in order to upkeep the feature, right?
Yeah. Uh, I know we talked a lot about opportunities and things that could be improved, but I think there are a lot of things that were done well on the website itself. Uh, I would like to highlight a few of them. So first,
Sure.
I love the fact that they have the stock availability right away in the product listing page and the home page. So especially the home page, you have the stock availability. And then if you click in the product detail page, for example, you will be able to choose a store to pick up from. So, but not only that, you can also check the store availability, which is great. So, you can either enter your postal code or share a location, and then you can see right away in real time, I believe, pretty much the availability on those stores. So there's, like you're highlighting right now, only a few items left, but maybe you can just, and the fact that you can check on the ones that have availability, I think it's really good as well. So this is a huge compliment for them.
Mhm.
And the other thing that I liked on the overall website is the accessibility option that you have on the bottom left. So
Mhm.
what I think could be improved even in the accessibility option is that once you click, the first thing that pops up is the report issue. You need to click on the personalization tools to be able to access the tools. So I would do the other way around. I'll offer the tools first, because if I'm clicking there, it's very likely that that's what I'm looking for, like one of the tools, instead of just report an issue. If I don't see any option on the tools, like for me, then I will try to report an issue with the accessibility, because that way maybe you could mislead people to think that, oh, you don't have a personalization tool. I didn't see it the first time that I clicked. So that just a suggestion to switch the
Yeah.
tabs.
Yeah, that's a good point. I have a thought about this feature that you talked about. I agree with you. I love this, the search, right? Very intuitive. I can search my location. If I search postal code, that would probably work too. Love the filter. Now that I've checked the store availability, and here it's good too. Like I see I can have two options, right? Either it's
Yeah.
sent to me, like shipped to me, the home delivery, or collect in store. So I assume, let's see how is this. So add to cart, right? So I'm gonna buy this switch light here. Go to cart. So let's take a look at how that pans out. Okay, that's good. I'm just checking details and all that. I can remove if I want. Yeah, shipping cost is free. Let's see. Okay, let's do a guest.
Yeah, you have an option to be
Let's
as
check
a
out.
guest.
Okay, that's good. Okay, this is not bad. Like I think that it does have uh some subtle issues. Like I don't know why these are all error fields. Like so I must have tried to submit the form when the page loaded. And if I picked, because I think like I think Best Buy does is another source, but we won't pull up the site at this point. But then there are better ways to handle the UX where if the user has indicated from the product detail page that they would like to pick up in store, then the page flow, so their experience in the checkout would be streamlined to such, right? And so here I could see there's a few things that would confuse me as the customer. So I looked at store availability. I went back to the page, added to cart. So by my actions, I've indicated I want to collect in store. And then when this page loaded, you saw like it's defaulting to the home delivery. And so it would be nice if it defaulted to the collect in store. I like some of this, like where I could still change. I think I could still change this. Let's see if I did that. Can I change to Park Royal pickup? Yep, that's good. Uh, okay, here, I think these are some other stores.
But
So
see,
it shows the stock availability.
yeah,
Mhm.
that's another thing that I liked as well, because you changed to Vancouver, and Vancouver,
Oh, it's
the
not in the
Park
stock.
Royal doesn't have
Oh,
in stock, so the payment options
oh,
button is disabled right now, so
disabled now.
you cannot
Mm-hmm.
move forward. So I like that as well. So it's cool. But I agree
Mm-hmm.
with you. If you choose pick up in store on the previous page, on the product detail page, you should be prompted to the pick up store tab, not to the other one. And even you could have change your mind. Do you want us to deliver? Click here, or
Yeah.
something that is quite intuitive as well.
Yes, and definitely not with all the errors. And then so
Yes.
this, I actually, it's interesting because you were pointing it out. I don't know if you caught in my reaction. I didn't realize that it was out of stock. And then so I was like, okay, I could search any store, and I put Vancouver, right? And I could put Burnaby too. So we're just looking at the different cities here. So that was out of stock. So let's switch it back to that one because it illustrates the point better. Here, it's actually telling me to like the UX error messaging here is telling me to remove. I don't want to remove. Like I want to buy this Switch Lite. I have to buy it for Christmas. I had no choice. And it's also like the option is giving me. So it says, please remove any unavailable products to continue with your order. You can try to purchase them with home delivery instead. But there's all of these stores that have it available, and I'm already in the collect in store. And so I think there's a few ways they could handle this better. First of all, it's odd that this product is positioned here and not above the pickup. Like if this search was better tied visually to this, I think every like the experience would be more cohesive. Then I know, okay, I searched a store and instead of seeing an option here, right? Because if I put Burnaby, because Metropolis and Metrotown is a Burnaby store, right? And so there's a result here, or I could click here. So it's a bit it's conflicting, and it's just it seems like it's presenting me with the same option in two different places. But now that we've interacted with it a bit, we know that this is actually showing other stores that have stock. This list doesn't care, right? So if I put Vancouver, Park Royal doesn't have it in stock, which we now know, right? It's still allowing me to choose it. And then so I feel like there's a lot of good stuff here. But then it could definitely be finessed in that when I'm already at checkout, probably like don't let users get distracted by store locations that don't have stock. This list actually presents it very well. So if I'm allowed to search a city and look for other locations again, maybe this should also give the stock availability. So I don't go clicking it and then have to learn through this area here now and then prompt it with this message to go, hey, like you should drop this item from your
Yeah,
cart,
no,
right? So
I
wonder.
agree. I agree with
Mhm.
you, but I agree. Period. But one thing that I want to mention, because we need to be fair on the assessment, is that maybe uh, if you think from database check, like the stock availability check,
Yeah.
every time you type it in a pickup store, you are switching the point of sale that you're looking to purchase the item from, because they have multiple branches over Canada. And every time you do that, actually what happens is, if you don't have that, because you only have one product, so it seems like it's an easy thing. But imagine like you have 5 products on your shopping cart. Now you need to every time you type it in, you need to send a request to your backend, to your database, to say, hey, do we have these 5 products available at that store? So it's easier to check that what after you choose from one store, and then show nearby stores that may have the availability for that specific product, or for those products that you have in a cart.
Right.
I'm actually not too, that doesn't bother me too much. What really bothers me is the message, because the message,
Yeah.
it's almost a counter sales productive thing, because it's telling you, well, ignore this product, just remove it. I'm not gonna,
Yeah.
I don't have it, and I'm not gonna sell it to you. When it should be more friendly to say, hey, the product you're looking for is not available at this store for
This
pickup,
store.
because it just pick up
Yes.
from that
Yes.
store. Your options are, and you can change the pickup store location using the search bar above. Use one of the other stores near with availability stock below, or switch to home delivery and we'll be delivering to you. And that's because
Exactly.
that's much more sales friendly approach. Imagine if
Exactly.
you go to any store, physical store, and you say, hey, I want this product, and the person say, well, I don't have it, so forget it. I say, well, but don't you have in another
Yeah, put it
branch?
down. Basically, it has a put it
Put it
down,
down.
just leave.
Go home.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, so I think yeah, there and your point is good, and we have these type of conversations all the time as a team where sometimes you want to achieve something with UX, and there might be an ideal or an optimal approach from a front end perspective, but there may be some limitations in the database or the back end that might present some limitations, right? Present some blockers to implementing it as the UX designer would want. And then it would be up to the team collectively to go, okay, now that dev understands or data architect understands the UX need and the goal, designer understands what the limitations are from a data or infrastructure or whatever perspective, right? That's the blocker. Work together, come up with a solution that meets all needs. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this one would be very interesting to dig into.
Yeah, no,
That would be very,
if
very
I don't know
interesting.
if I don't know if you have ever had the opportunity to go to an Apple store to buy a product that's not available at that location. If you translate everything that we saw in the checkout to a physical store, like a brick and mortar store, what you will have is the same behavior. So the vendor, will approach you. The salesperson will approach you and say, "Hey, how may I help you? Oh, I want this product." And then you have the kind of the display product, not the product you want to buy, but the display one. Say, "I want this iPhone 16 here Pro," and they will check their availability. And they will say, "Oh, I don't have that available at store at this moment, but I can check to see if I have availability to send you, to ship to you, or check on nearby stores." And then once you provide, what you do next is provide the location, and then they will check the location to see availability on those stores. And it's similar. It's like the real world, but online. So that's why I was saying that doesn't bother much.
Yeah.
Not the way it is. From a
Yeah.
technical perspective, I know from
Technical.
a UX,
Yeah.
you are
Yeah.
right.
And you're right. I think that low hanging fruit here is to change that error message. It
Exactly.
might be, and we talk about this all the time, where it's we know that there is something to solve, but then there is a lower cost, more conservative way that might achieve the same goal. Like it would reduce the frustration of the user by like substantially, right? And then there's the more expensive where you're gonna, custom program the whole checkout and all that. And sometimes it's just not sustainable. It's not it doesn't make sense like from a cost benefit perspective, right? And so we wouldn't recommend to pursue that.
Yeah.
There's one more thing that I noticed on this site that I wanted to share with you, that what is interesting is because they have reviews, which is great because for any site, right? Any site that you have that customer feedback and reviews, especially for GameStop, this is not their manufactured product, right? This is not their brand. games. So these third-party reviews and like the players of the games reviewing games will really help to boost sales. And oh, and maybe I don't buy this game. It's rated 1.64. Oh my goodness. But yeah, so this game, the reviews are very important. But if you look at this, like it says, okay, how many reviews? 27,418. So it seems credible. But what is confusing, because I rolled over this, but then I didn't want to interrupt what we were talking about earlier, is that there's actually no reviews tab. Like my expectation is there's reviews, right? I can read the reviews because of my experience purchasing games for my kids. Sometimes some games are poorly reviewed for very specific reasons. Maybe it's too simple. That's a good thing. My kids are still young, right? And then so when I look at this, there's not only this, like when I hover, the reviews are gone, which is very frustrating, right? The info disappears when I hover over. But it also seems like without being a verified customer, having purchased this game, I can actually go in and maybe let's give it a 5 star. Let's see what happens. I think I just submitted one, right?
Yeah, you did. You did.
Okay, so there, I just proved my point right there, right? And
If
then
you try,
so this,
if you try to review again, we'll give you a error message.
okay, but if I go in incognito in a different session, right, it probably let me. But then, okay, so my point is a couple of things. Having ratings, excellent, right? However, when the user tries to engage with it, with for a game, like for a site like GameStop with games, and as we know, gamers rely heavily on community reviews of games. And what do they say about the games? And maybe there's different versions. Like I think a new Super Smash Bros. Version is coming out next year, and there might be an older version as well, or expansions of certain games, right? And people can't afford all of them, and so they're comparing reviews, right? And so this is a huge flag, I think, for GameStop in that not because they don't have reviews, but because when I try to interact with it as a gamer, I'm not finding the information I'm looking for, which is honest customer reviews. They could say, good and bad. And even sometimes, like if I read bad reviews, if I know it's not related or relatable to my use case, like I'm buying for my 7-year-old, right? And if someone who is an adult gamer and they're like, oh, this game is so simple, I expected a lot more complexity, they should do better. I'm okay with that. I might still purchase. But because of this, and if I am still trying to choose between a few games to purchase for my son and I want to read reviews, guess where I'm going? Another site. And it might be game review sites, but likely it's going to be Best Buy, Amazon, and other sites that I can purchase from, right? And so I think that, and then let's say, they've got a better price or the same price, but now for convenience, I'm already on their site and I've left GameStop. They've lost my purchase. Right. And so I think that the reviews, I know that's a very small thing, and maybe if people don't hover over it, they might not notice, but that seems like a huge drop off risk for them, and easy to fix because there's a lot of good review customer review extensions, or like a lot of platforms come built in with reviews. So it's actually surprising that they've got something faulty like this on their site.
And honestly, of course, not jumping on any conclusion here. Okay, absolutely not. But I would like to know, because I really don't have how to know, if all these are like honest review, or maybe how people are kind passionate about games, and they their character may not be super uh you know active on this game, so they hate the game because of that. There's so many reasons why people hate a game, and it's easy to create, the way it is right now, it's easy to create a script and a bot to go there and keep rating, bad rating, bad rating, bad rating. Because if you think, I don't know, because I don't play this game, this specific game, but if you think like 27,000 people would rate lower than 2 stars, even because the average is 1.6. It's It's different.
Unlikely, eh? Yeah, yeah,
It's different. I don't want to jump on any conclusion because honestly, I don't have all the details on the website background. But that was a good point. Now that was a really good point. And
yeah.
then, well, I think that pretty much sum up to our today's episode. I think it's good the fact that we were able to go from the homepage to checkout and see all the good things that GameStop has been doing, and also the opportunities, right? And again, just to be clear, we don't have the full background history. We don't have the business decisions that are driven or the website to be present the way it is. Maybe Mel and I are jumping on some assumptions that the search should be behaving differently, and they would say, well, Mel, surgery, you don't have no idea what you're talking about because we have these products here, the Amiibo, for example, as the most seller product, and we want to promote them first. So it is the way it is.
Or the biggest
And
markup. They get
yeah,
the biggest
yeah,
revenue for who
my
knows?
biggest
I thought, but
markups
yes, who
when
knows?
I
Yes,
saw that.
fun business
But
reasons.
but from a UX perspective, that's what we do. So we just jump on the website and we check for improvements and see what from our perspective what could be done differently. With that, I think we sum up and come to the end of our episode. And don't forget, again, if you'd like to have your website featured in one of our episodes, just let us know, okay? Our contacts are in the video description, and you can, get in touch with us and say, hey, I want you guys to honestly review our website. just a reminder that we will do, with no strings. So we're just gonna jump in and start to do the same thing we did with GameStop today. So if you'd like us to do that with no reservations, we will do. Thank you very much for your time. Thanks for watching, and see you on the next episode. See ya.